What's up, you guys? This is the first episode of what I'm calling the Go Home Show. Alright, obviously that's a wrestling term. We all know what it means. If you don't, that's the show right before a pay-per-view. But obviously this isn't right before a pay-per-view. I'm calling it that because I'm recording it while I'm going home. It's a good time for me to kind of do this, kind of bring some video content and just kind of see where it goes, see who likes it. So if you do like it, let me know, hit up a comment, something. I'm just going to talk about WWE, mainly. I'll probably talk about some other stuff if I get the chance to watch it, but right now it's just going to be WWE. Obviously we're coming out of No Mercy, which is Raw branded pay-per-view. I thought it was a really good pay-per-view overall. I said on Twitter, I had it at about probably 9 out of 10 for a while. Most of the show I think was 9 out of 10. There were some, some decisions I'm not 100% crazy on. I think, now might have been the time to put the belt on Nia, to maybe set up Nia versus Asuka down the road a little bit. Because I think Nia is the right person to be like, wow, Asuka's here. She just beat Nia. As good as Alexa is, and Alexa's great on the mic, she is more than solid in the ring. She's not believable as a person that Asuka, as Asuka's been built. Alexa is not a person that is believable as a challenge to that Asuka. Whereas Nia would be. If you had Nia just kind of finish that match the way it kind of looked like it might have been headed towards, and have her just dominate these other 4 women that are legit stars. Well, Emma hasn't been built that way, but we know Emma can go. And then you've got Bayley, Sasha, Alexa, and Emma, all 4 gunning for Nia. If Nia wins that, she is set up. And then, let's say Alexa gets her rematch at TLC. Nia wins. Now you've got that perfect target to establish Asuka as, she's here and she's the real deal. So I wasn't real crazy about Alexa winning, but I was okay with the way they did it. And I thought they did a good job of making sure Nia stayed strong. Nia looked good, which you can do when you've got 5 people in a match. Thought it was interesting that they had Bayley take the pin, but, whatever. I'm not the biggest Bayley fan. I know that's like blasphemous, but I'm not the biggest Bayley fan. I don't think she's that great in the ring. The kids love her, so obviously, and she, she's a good person, seemingly. What I know of her, she works hard. She really gives everything she's got to make her matches as good as she can. I'm just not a huge fan. So it doesn't affect me one way or the other that she took the pin. I assumed Emma would. But the rest of the night was great. The tag match was really good. Dean and Seth are picking up right where the Shield left off to a degree. Cesaro and Sheamus, in my mind, has been the biggest success story of the brand split. And I'm not saying necessarily that the brand split made it happen. I'm just saying of this brand split era, Sheamus and Cesaro might be the biggest success story of this era. Of this mini era, really. I mean, it's only been a year and a couple months. Because when they first got paired off in that best of 7 late last year, it was about this time that they got paired off for that best of 7. I was in a large group of us that we were like, oh my God. Are they really, 7 matches? Which we know, the problem with the 7-match series, obviously, this is a year-old topic, but is obviously we know it's going 7 matches. So the first 6 where especially once they went 3-1, I'm pretty sure with Sheamus, you pretty well know Cesaro's winning at least the next 2. And we're going 7 matches. And then when they finished with a double count out and Mick Foley put them together as a tag team, it just feels like such a terrible idea, and it worked. Now, Mick Foley did it in kayfabe. I don't know whose idea it was really, but maybe it was Mick's. I don't know. But man, what a job those two have done. Going from a tag team that most of us weren't real high on, weren't real thrilled with, to now I love their entrance. I love this persona they developed without really changing, right? Cesaro turned heel. That's really the only difference in their personalities from when they started till now. It's not like the Hype Bros where they, Zack Ryder completely becomes this new character with Mojo. Well, sort of new character. It's not like the Usos turning heel where they change characters completely. It's not like the New Day when they came together coming up with this completely new gimmick. It's this Sheamus, Cesaro, as we call it, Shazaro, however you want to say it. Most of us don't pronounce it, we just type it. So I'm not really sure how we pronounce that. It's kind of been this organic development into this The Bar tag team. And as corny as that is, it just works for them. And I just applaud those dudes so much for what they've put into that gimmick. And it was the right decision for them to lose to Rollins and Ambrose, the mini Shield or whatever. It was the right move for them to lose. I don't know what's next. I assume it's right now something with the Miztourage or something with Braun or what. I don't really know where we're headed with that, and that's fine. Got about a month to go, and I really don't like it when they come in to a show like the show on Monday, where it's the night after a pay-per-view, and they come in and they just set new feud, and it feels so forced. Like, well, it feels like a video game, like the 2K video games when you're in career mode and it's the night after a pay-per-view and you get a new feud. I like that, like, we aren't really exactly sure where the tag titles are headed for the next pay-per-view. We're not really sure what's exactly going on with the IC title. I love that we're now to Miz Reigns on next Monday for an Intercontinental Championship match. I would love to see Reigns win it and complete the career Grand Slam, but I don't know that that's the right move. I thought Reigns and Cena was a good match at No Mercy. I don't like the ending. I've explained this a little bit with Jackson and some of the other folks in our group. I don't. This is part of the reason why people don't like Reigns and don't like Cena, and they trolled the crap out of the crowd for most of the match because they did their normal like patterns and wouldn't quite finish. Like, Cena would go into the shoulder tackles, and then he would go, and Reigns would block one of the shoulder tackles, and he would finish the shoulder tackles. And then, like, they would go back and forth. It was really cool. Reigns would try the spear, wouldn't work with the spear. But then the finish was the epitome of one of the reasons why both of those guys are disliked. It's this, Reigns had dominated most of the match, but all of a sudden Cena was just kicking his butt and had put him in 4 AAs, including one off the ropes, I'm pretty sure. Reigns pops up, Superman punch, spear, it's over. And that is why people don't like them. That is why people roll their eyes at their matches and don't want to give credit for how great those matches are, because Roman has put on some great matches, Cena has put on some great matches, but too often we get that kind of finish where it's like whoever was scripting that match just decided, and at this point you're going to be about at the 15-30 mark and we want you to finish the match right there, so go to the finish. And I don't know that was exactly the right way to go with that, but the match itself I thought was really good. I thought they told a good story. I would have liked to see Roman kind of heel turning a little bit at the end and not accept the hand raising and maybe just knock John Cena out. And maybe that's how we get to the next, maybe that's how we get to Cena has moved on for a while, is that Reigns just demolished him after the match. But that's not the direction they're going. And if they're going to a face Shield reunion, that was the way it had to go. Which I think that is where they're headed. Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, this is the match that took it from a 9 down to like a 7. Because all the other results that I didn't like, I could see why they did it. And I respect why they did it. With this, you've built Braun Strowman as this juggernaut that no one can beat, including Roman Reigns. Including Roman Reigns, who, for all intents and purposes, beats everyone, except for that one or 2 months around his suspension last summer when he started taking some losses. But other than that, his entire career, he just wins. Rusev was on a winning streak when Rusev first came up with the company. And Reigns beat him in his return from hernia surgery. Now, it was like a count out or a DQ or something like that, but Reigns even they had to change how they talked about Rusev's streak at that time because they weren't going to let Reigns lose. And that again has been part of Reigns. The issue that fans have with him is that he just wins all the time, but not against Braun. Braun beat him, and Braun beat him clean. If they had just regular old matches, Braun won them. And everybody else is that way too. There's no one who has been able to consistently beat Braun Strowman. And yet, he goes up against Brock Lesnar and loses clean. Now, Braun did his best. Braun, again, is built and just the character he has is such a believably terrifying monster that I was really hopeful there for a minute that they were going to let him win that match, that they were going to let Braun Strowman take the belt off Brock Lesnar, which is great because while he has beat everybody else, with Reigns it was close enough that you could believe Reigns could beat him. He's got that, and when with that, if he beats Brock Lesnar, the stories still tie in because Brock was close with Reigns in their match, and things just kind of tie in a little closer. But once you have Brock beat Braun Strowman, a lot of BR words, right there clean in the middle of the ring, it just kind of ties off all those ends. And now, who am I supposed to believe is going to beat Brock Lesnar? Supposedly Finn Balor is his next opponent, maybe at Survivor Series. Give me a break. No. There is no universe where I believe that little old 180-pound Finn Balor beats Brock Lesnar. It's just not gonna happen. And it shouldn't happen. If Finn Balor beats Brock Lesnar after Braun Strowman couldn't do it, and Samoa Joe couldn't do it, and Roman Reigns couldn't do it as part of the Fatal 4-Way, I may have an actual aneurysm. I may do it. So the only other match was Finn Balor against Bray Wyatt, which is just so disappointing. It was a good match. Those guys put on a good match. I enjoyed that match. But the finish of regular old Finn Balor beating Bray Wyatt, like, why is Bray Wyatt even around anymore? What's he doing? What purpose does he serve if he's going to lose that match? I don't see it. I don't understand it. Doesn't make any sense. But they didn't ask me. So there's that. Raw, I thought was a pretty solid show. It was weird. You had the weird Enzo Amore, which honest to goodness, if they really built up Enzo Amore to be this awful person backstage so that this would work, that is the most brilliant bit of writing they've done in a while. And I can't wrap my head around anyway that that's not the case. Because this only works if people don't like Enzo. Because if Enzo is still the Enzo from a couple months ago, right after he and Cass broke up, he could have kicked Neville right square in the balls, and the fans would have loved it. He could have said everything he said, and the fans would have loved it. The fans had to believe that Enzo is a bad person that they should not like. And the only way we got there, in my mind, was with all these stories about backstage heat with Enzo, that this storyline was real. And the whole time I was like, that's really weird, because he's the face in all this. So why would all of this, break up with Cass and him getting shoved to 205 Live? Like, nothing about this has been the writing that you would do if somebody was in real trouble. He went from being the absolute face in the feud with Cass to, as soon as he turns heel, he gets the Cruiserweight title and gets to be the guy who forcefully takes the Cruiserweight division into the main event scene. So, to me, the only explanation that makes sense to me is that they intentionally made people believe that Enzo was a big old bag of douche, and that's why all this happened. And If that's the truth, kudos to them, because that is some brilliant writing. Because that's the only thing that has a shot of saving the cruiserweights. Now, I will say, the flip side of that is, if what saves the if Enzo Amore is who they have to turn to be the only heel that can turn Neville in such a way that division matters, they're in trouble. If they couldn't turn to any of their actual cruiserweights that have actual talent as a heel that can be the catalyst for Neville's turn and make that division relevant, then that division's doomed anyway, and they're going to have to do something. So that's really all I want to say about Raw. I've kind of touched on already. SmackDown, I thought it was a decent show last night. Kevin Owens is back to that. Kudos to Max Landis. Kevin Owens is back to Max Landis. Kevin Owens is back to that that dead-eyed, psychotic look that he's been known to get from time to time. And to me, that's the best Kevin Owens. The one that's got that dead-eyed, psychotic look that you saw kind of last night. He's beating Sammy, where like you can't tell if he's worried about Sammy or if he is satisfied with what he's done to Sammy. That's the best Kevin Owens. So I liked that. The gender thing, it's just over. And not like over as in over with the crowd. I mean, over as in done. That angle is done. Him as champion, it doesn't work. They tried to make him super racist last week to kind of give it a little oomph, and it didn't. It just made fans more like, go away, stop, put the belt on. And if they don't have Nakamura win that belt at Hell in a Cell, they have made a huge mistake. A massive mistake. But that would be typical of the way they book these things, because they seem to take, like, if there is something that will be surefire, the fans will love this, somebody in that creative process says, well, we can't do that then. Because there is nothing in the WWE that would be a more surefire pop moment than to have Nakamura blow Jinder's head off with a Kinshasa and win that belt at the main event or second match of Hell in a Cell. Because I think Shane and KO is going to be the main event, which is weird. I don't like that, but whatever. There is no match, there's no result in WWE right now that would bring the reaction, the positive reaction that Nakamura beating Jinder would. But the window on that is fading, because if Nakamura loses this match, that's when you start that slide down where fans start caring about him a little bit less, because they start to realize he's not going to win. When fans start to realize that you're not going to give them the result that they want with a particular guy, they start to fade. It was like that with Sammy. Sammy now doesn't get the same reaction he used to because fans have realized they're not going to do anything with him. So that's just the way I feel about that match and that build. Nakamura just needs to take that belt off of him. It's time. My hope is that happens, and then we use the next couple months to kind of end the Jinder thing, push him down to the lower of the card. I wouldn't mind if they just pushed him off the card altogether. He's not good. But, you know, they'll find a spot for him. AJ, now would be a good time for Baron Corbin to take that belt off of AJ. That would be weird if both of those belts changed at the same event, but I think it's time there, because I think we need to start pushing AJ towards the WWE title again. I think that's where he needs to be, because AJ Nakamura for the WWE title at WrestleMania or at Royal Rumble, either one, oh my God, take my money. I want to see it. So that's what I think needs to happen there. The tag team, Greg said it, we've said it several times. The Usos New Day tag team feud has been the best work of that brand all year. That's been the feud of the year on that brand. And it's only been happening for a couple months now. Actually, it's been about 5 months, because New Day came over. No, New Day made their SmackDown debut in May, because it was in Atlanta when we were there. And so May to September, that's 4 months. That's been the best feud of that brand all year. Great work from those guys. It just keeps staying fresh, and I love it. The women's stuff, Charlotte and Natalya, that's a feud that just needs to happen. They made the right decision by putting that belt on Natalya to have Charlotte take it off of her. That was the feud to be. When Charlotte comes over to SmackDown, I knew that Charlotte wasn't going to face Naomi. So I knew, like, the sign to me that Charlotte was about to get her shot was when Natalya took the belt off of Naomi. That's when I knew we're getting Charlotte's the next in line, because that's the feud. That's the right feud for Charlotte to establish herself as, oh, I'm the queen over here too. So I hope that my hope is that Charlotte wins that, but that would be 3 titles changing hands at the same pay-per-view. So I'm wrong on one of those, probably, maybe not. If I'm gonna be wrong on one, I hope it's honestly, I hope it's probably AJ beating Corbin. Although I could see it being that Natty beats Charlotte because Carmella cashes in. That's something I could see, that maybe there's no finish in the women's match, but still that's a title changing hands. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I guess we'll probably get a better idea about that next week. So that's all for those 2 shows, I think. If I missed something, I mean, Ziggler and Rude, whatever. I personally thought that Ziggler impersonating The Undertaker was one of the best singular decisions they've made in months on either show. That one decision to have him come out as The Undertaker, because when that gong hit, I stopped in my tracks. I mean, not that I was like walking, but I stopped. I was sitting on the couch, I was goofing off on my phone, whatever. And when that gong hit, I stopped and looked at the TV. And I was like, hold on, what? Because for a split second, I forgot that Dolph was doing that thing. Because all of his other entrances have been, I don't want to say half-assed, but it was to a degree that you knew it wasn't actually the person that was coming out. But The Undertaker's entrance is different, because you got that music for so long before he ever comes out that I was there. I was, oh my God, why is Undertaker back? It's 9:30. Why? Or not even 9:30. I think it was like 9:15. Why is he here? Anybody he should be going after is on the other show. What is he doing? And then as soon as Dolph started coming out, and I was like, that guy's kind of small. Oh. So I thought that was really well done. I saw some wrestling writers that were like, oh, it messes with the mystique of The Undertaker. That's the point. That was the point of that one, was for you to be angry. Dolph has done a better job of anybody in the roster of establishing, I am a heel and you're gonna hate me. Kevin Owens does a good job of that, but Dolph has done an excellent job of, if there's anybody left who still likes me, I'm going to make sure you don't. And I really thought it was a well done thing. Shame that he's just gonna lose to Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode needs to beat Dolph Ziggler. That needs to happen. I just wish Dolph Ziggler wasn't the welcome mat. That everybody who comes to SmackDown gets their feud that they're going to win with Dolph Ziggler. But I thought it was really well done. That's really all I have, I think, for those 2 shows. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe next week I'll do something a little different. I was trying to catch up with 3 shows. So just let me know what you think. And thanks for joining me for the Go Home Show.